Okay, so let's continue our discussion of being able to work with more sophisticated types of data representation. Okay, so let's open up Visual Studio, and I've opened up already the website that we're working on, and here's let's open up in 4550 experiments SQL. Let's create here another directory where we might work on today's experiments. So let's work with SQL, and we'll call this 1 to many. Okay, 1 to many. So in here, let's create our first page. First, let's do the 1. So let's see. We'll need a database. So let's see. We'll need a couple of tables here, and this is the database that we created earlier. Let's reuse that, and let's have here a course, and courses. I believe we had created something here, right? Let's look at if this has data. All right, we have data, right? We have web dev, Java, ASP, Node.js. So we already have data here, okay? And if you remember, we could very easily display that in a page by just dragging the table onto the page, right? So let's hit here. Here are the courses, and we're going to drag it right here in this div. Let's just let's go into design and drag the course table onto the page. And we remember that there was a couple of things that we could format. We could format whether we were to editing and deleting, right? Sorting. It was pretty sophisticated, right? So let's save that. So there it is. So remember we did this yesterday, right? I mean on Tuesday. We worked on this, and we can edit this and whatnot. Okay. So what we want to be able to do is be able to create relationship between tables, right? So for instance, in your projects, you might be working with movies, you might be working with books, you might be working with various domain objects. And you will certainly have to represent some kind of relationship between either users and those domain objects, right? Or users and other users, right? Whenever you have to say, that a person likes something, right? Or a person has reviewed something or whatnot, those are relationships, right? You have to be able to represent that relationship. You need to store somewhere that this person likes something, or this faculty created this course, okay? So let's see how we would do that. All right, so let's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to create the other table, the faculty table. So let's create the faculty table. So let's call this the faculty table, faculty, and this is the primary key. And so I'm going to say that so this has to be unique. So because I don't want to deal with coming up with a unique value for this primary key. What I'm going to do is I'm going to annotate it as with the identity keyword. All right, so that means that the database will be responsible for coming up with a unique primary key. We're going to add a couple more things here. First name, varchar, and maybe last name. And maybe the faculty's office. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see what else. We have that. Let's update it so that it'll actually insert into a database. We'll say update the database. There it is. And now we want to create the relationship between these two, right? Let me refresh. Let's see. There's faculty in this course, right? We can very easily create a page that can display those faculty. Let's populate it with a couple faculty, right? So let's open up for the table data, and we can insert here some first names and last names. So here's Alice Wonderland, office W 102 West Village H. This is Bob Marley, 360 West Village H. And this is Carly Garcia, 321. Okay. All right, so we inserted that. Close that. Let's close the faculty. And we can create, very easily, we can create this is course list. Maybe we should rename this, right? We should rename this page. Let's rename it to be, where do we put it? Under here, right? There it is. Actually, better name that I'm going to call it course list. How's that? Course list. There we go. Okay? Everybody good? All right. And we can easily generate the other page, right? The other for the faculty. Same thing, right? We can just drag it in there, right? So let me create here faculty list. We'll say here H1 faculty list, and we're going to drag the table in here, faculty. We'll just drag it in there. Okay, I'm going to save. I'm also going to allow editing and deletion and sorting. Okay, very good. All right. And we run that. We see that those are the 3 that we added earlier. Yes? Okay, very easy to make a way to interface with the data, the tables and rows and whatnot. Okay, so what we want to be able to explore now is the capability of relating these two things together, right? A faculty with all the courses that faculty has authored. Okay, so what we need to do here is modify the course, right? So we double click on it. Oh, let me see. Okay, we get its definition again. We'll notice that we have all the fields declared there. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an additional field. We're going to say, I'm going to add here who authored this course. Okay, so what I'm going to put here is author ID. This is going to be the ID of the faculty who authored this course. Okay? And the way we do that is since this is going to be referencing, the values that I'm going to be storing here are the IDs of the records of a particular faculty, right? It has to have the same data type as the ID of the faculty, which is an integer, right? The IDs of the faculty are integers. So this has to be able to hold an integer. Yes? Okay. All right. So to make the relationship explicit, we're going to say that this ID actually references, it's a primary key, meaning it's going to reference a key. So it's a foreign key that references faculty, the ID field in faculty. Okay. Yes. So what we're saying is that, hey, if make sure, right, that the values that go in here, the integers that I insert here, are referencing an existing record, right? So if the faculty doesn't exist, this will not let me insert a value, right, for a faculty that doesn't exist, right? That in database jargon we say that we are maintaining referential integrity, right? Making sure that the values for a particular foreign key represent a real record, right, that really exists. Okay. All right. All right. So let's close this. Oops. Let's save this. All right. Let's. Oh, okay. We're done, right? We created it. Oh, we have to update. Let's update the database. Of the database. Okay. So now we have a new field in there. if we look at the course, right, and we look at the table data, you'll notice that none of these courses were authored by anybody. See that? The author ID is null. Okay, meaning these courses are orphaned, right? They don't belong to anybody, right? So let's say that the first, let's look at the faculty that we have. We have 3 faculty members with the IDs 1, 2, 3. So we go back to course. We can say that these courses, this one, and this one, were all authored by author number 1. The first 2 were authored by author number 1, and these 2 were authored by author number 2. Okay, makes sense? That's what we're saying, right? That the first 2 were authored by Alice, and these 2, right, ASP and Node.js, were authored by Bob. Everybody good? Okay. All right. All right. So yeah. So what we want to be able to do is be able to represent that in our tables, right? Just those relationships. We want to be able to represent that. So let's look how we would do that. Okay. So let's see. Let's so for instance, the faculty list. The faculty list, one of the things that we might want to do is, given the list of faculties, if I navigate to a details page of a faculty, right? One of the things I like to see, not only their first name, last name, their office hours, blah, 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 all the information about their information, but I like to see, the courses that he has authored, right? Maybe the papers that he's published, all sorts of things, right? The only thing that we have here are the courses that he has authored. So let's do that. Let's modify faculty lists, right? So that we can navigate to a details page of the faculty, right? And then see the courses that they have authored in there, right? So let's do that. Let's first let's copy this faculty list. Let's copy it so that we can change it a little bit. All right, this is going to be 020. Link faculty list to details. Let me open that and close others. Close all but this. Okay. So what I want to do here is this should work just the same as we had earlier. These are all the faculty. What I'd like to be able to do is add another column here that allows me to navigate to a details page. Okay, which we saw how to do that last week. We're gonna build on that last week, last lecture. We're gonna build on that because now the details page is gonna have more information, right? It's gonna have information about all the objects that this faculty is related to, right? Like all the courses that he has authored. So we're going to add here an additional column, edit columns. Oh, sorry, no. Let's say add column, add new column, and this is going to be a link column, right? So it's going to call details. So the header of the column is going to be details. It's going to be a link. The text of the link will be details. And then the URL is going to be, I want to go to the details page. So let's call this 030 faculty details.aspx, right, which we haven't created that page yet, right? And it will display the details of a faculty. I need to tell it which faculty I want to display, right? So I'm going to give it as argument. I'm going to say the faculty ID, faculty ID. And the value that I'm going to pass is going to be dynamic. It's going to be what? I'm going to grab the value of that ID from the field ID of that record, of each record. So as I'm iterating over all the faculty, I'm going to populate that to be faculty 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth, right? So I'm going to grab it from field ID. Say OK. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to refresh this. Now I have a details on the right hand side, right? Now if I click on it, notice that it'll go to a page that doesn't exist. Okay, the page doesn't exist yet. Let's create that page. Okay. Let's create the page. Call that. Okay. And now that page, all right, we're going to have here H1 faculty details. I'm going to drag here the details. Okay. So in here, we're going to drag the table of faculty. Well, we can drag the table faculty, or because if I drag the table faculty, what's going to happen? It's going to it's going to create a grid view, right? And it's going to generate also a SQL data source that connects to that table and it's going to generate all the select, insert, update, deletes that I need. Yes? Right? We could do that, but I want to take the long way, right? If we don't need the entire the full heavyweight data source, we can do it somewhat by hand, and it's something to learn, right? Let's drag here that we want a details view. Let's grab a details view, and it's going to ask me, okay, I'm going to show the details view of who, of what, right? And is there a data source on the page? There isn't. The page does not have a data source, so we'll need to create a new one. And it says, okay, we want to connect to a database, and we'll call this the faculty data source. Faculty data source. And says, okay, what database are you connecting to? Okay, we're connecting to CS4550. And it says, okay, well, what table are you connecting to in that schema? We're going to select faculty. And says, and which fields do you want to show there? It says, well, I want to show all the fields. Okay, and we'll say next. Okay. Did it generate a select? Okay, it's using select star. We don't really want select star, right? Because we don't want all the faculty. We want to show just that one faculty for the details of that one particular faculty, right? But anyway, we'll go next. We'll say finish. Okay, we'll save, and now let's reload this. You're going to notice that it worked, right? But notice that it's showing the details for Alice. Alice is the first faculty, but if we go back and click on this one, notice that it still shows Alice, right? It's still, even though I click on Charlie Garcia, it shows Alice. Why is that? Because it's selecting all of them and then just only keeping the first record, which is Alice, right? We need to tell it, hey, you know what? You should use the query string as your filter, right? I want you to filter on that query string. So let's do that. Let's look at the SQL statement that it created here. Let's see what it created. Let's see. Yeah, so it created a select command, the connection string, blah blah blah. All right, so let's see. Let's add a couple things here. Run at connection string and the select statement. Here's a select command that it's using to retrieve the records. What we want to do is, I don't want to retrieve all the records. I want to retrieve the record, right, the faculty, based on the faculty ID. Yes, on the faculty ID. So what we're going to do here is that don't select all of them. Select the faculty record where the ID is equal to some parameter that I will give you. And I can call whatever I want. FID. I can call whatever I want. Okay. And now, then I need to tell it, well, what do I grab this parameter? What do I grab it from? To tell it where to grab it from, we configure the select parameters in here. We're going to say that it's a query. It's from a query string parameter, meaning you're going to grab this from the query string. That's where you're going to grab the FID. Okay. The name of the field that I am configuring is this FID. That's the name and I tell it the type, it's an integer, and I tell it where to grab it from the query string. In the query string, it's called what? Faculty ID. So the query string field name is faculty ID. There we go. Okay, make sense? Now if I go back and I refresh, notice now I'm seeing Charlie. See that? For 3. So if I choose 2, I see Bob. If I choose 1, I see Alice. And this is all linked to the links over here. If I click on this one, I see Alice. If I click on this one, I see Bob. If I click on this one, I see Charlie. Everybody good? Everybody okay? All right. So anyway, so these are the minor details of the faculty. We want to show more things, such as we want to show the courses that this faculty has authored. Okay. So for instance, in this details page down below here, what I'd like to be able to do is do H2 courses authored. Okay. So yeah, so down below, I'd like to see a list of all the courses that this particular faculty has authored, right? Using, right, the relationship of a one-to-many relationship between faculty and the courses, right? So let's do that. To do that, since it's a list, meaning there's several of them, not just one record, we would like to show several records. What we're going to do is that what we want to do is display several courses. Right. So if I drag the courses in here, it's gonna be able to grab all the courses. Right. If I do that and I save and I go back and I refresh, what's gonna do? It's gonna show all the courses. See that? See that showing all the courses? But this particular faculty did not author all these courses. Right. In fact, his ID is number 3, and notice that none of the courses are authored by author ID 3. They're all authored either by author ID 1 or author ID 2. You see that? Right? So actually, this list should be empty. Right? So if I go back and I click on this, I should only view these 2 courses. If I click on this one, I should only see these 2 courses. Right? So we need to filter that on what? On the faculty ID, right? The faculty ID is the same thing as the author ID, right? That's what they mean, the same thing, even though they have different names. Okay, so I want to filter the courses by the faculty ID. Right. So let's go in there, and we'll look. So this is the data source that is retrieving all the courses, and it's using a SQL command to retrieve all the courses. So let's look at the SQL command that it's using to retrieve all these courses. So that's the delete command. This is the insert command, and here is the select command that it's using to retrieve all these courses, and this would be the update command. So yeah, so the select command is retrieving all the courses, all of them. Instead, what I want to do is filter. It says I don't want all of them. I want those courses where the author ID is equal to the faculty ID, right? Meaning I want to use this to filter. Yes. Okay. So now that I created a parameter, I need to configure that parameter. I'm going to configure that parameter. I'm going to create here a select parameters. I'm going to configure as a query parameter. I'm going to say that the name is what I call it. I call it faculty ID. It is an integer. And the name of the query string is equal to faculty ID. Oops. Paste it here. There we go. Okay, let's see if this blows up. Anyway, so faculty ID 2, if I refresh this, notice that it only shows those records, those courses authored by faculty 2. If I go back and I click here, notice that I only see the courses all of these courses that were only authored by author 1. Notice that if I click on 3, notice that there are no courses. See that? There are no courses. Right? Everybody good? Okay? All right. This technique, right, of filtering is very common, right, to be able to to use the relationship between two tables. All right. Okay. So if I'm looking at a particular course, say I want to add, I'm going to say, oh, this faculty has just authored an additional course, right? So I'd like to be able to say, and maybe add another course that this faculty has authored, right? So for instance, what I'd like to be able to do, right, in the faculty details, actually, let me do that in a separate. I'll do it here. So here are the courses. What I'd like to be able to do is be able to add an additional course that this faculty has just authored, right? So let's go in here, and here we'll do H2 author new course. So what we want to do here is right here add the capability of adding new courses, right, to the list of courses that this particular faculty has authored, right? So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to insert here a detailed view of the course that will allow me to create a new course. So I'm going to insert it here, right? And I'm going to say use the same data source that the courses is using, right? It's this one, SQL data source 1. Okay, I'm going to save that. If I refresh this, notice that author new course right now, the default is to grab all the courses and show the first one, right? That's what it's doing. Notice that that's the first course, right? And it's showing the first one by default. What I want instead is that I want this to have not read only, but I want it to be an insert. And enable inserting. There we go. Save. So now, if we refresh, notice that it's blank, right? Oh, it allows me to create ID. Huh. Okay. So anyway, so what I want to do, let's see. Let me add. Can I edit the fields? Edit the fields. Oh, it's not showing. It's not showing the fields. All right, that's fine. All right, what I want to be able to do is I don't want to have to type this author ID, right? Because I already have the faculty ID. I know, right? I'm looking at the faculty, right? I'm looking at Alice Wonderland, right? I know the faculty's ID, right? If I add a new course here, I want it to be, right? I want it to be that is added to the current faculty that I'm looking at, right? By default. So I don't want to have to type this author ID. So what we're going to do here is that since it's using this SQL data source, right? This same SQL data source for reading, right? For everything. Notice that it has an insert parameter, right? The insert parameter is going to grab the title. Wait, this is for the course. Yeah. Okay. Price, title. Yep. But notice that the parameter is grabbing it from where? It's grabbing it from this input field. I don't want it to grab it from the input field. I want to grab it from the query string, right? Because I already know the author, right? So I'm going to use the same query parameter here, right? And the insert, but the field in insert is called what? Let's look at the insert command. The insert command says insert values, blah, 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 right? And the value here for author ID, that's what it is, right? This author ID, that's a field. And I want to set it to, I want to set that field to be parsed from the query string of faculty ID. So I have the value already. I have faculty ID 1, 2, 3, whatnot, right? And that's the value of the author ID that I want to use. Okay, so let's try that. 1. And let's create here. The title is SQL server price. Right, I'm not going to enter the author ID. I'm going to say insert. There it is. Notice that SQL Server has been added to this particular author. See that? We just added it. What else? What else could we do? Let's see. Well, what we could do is, now that we have the courses here, it'd be nice if I could navigate to the details of the courses. Right? So I'm kind of like, I'm drilling down, right? I start from the list of faculties. I'm looking at a particular faculty, right? And then I'm going to and I have a summary of all the courses, and then I can click on that course and see the details of that course. I'm like drilling down, right, from the university, looking at a particular department, then looking at all the faculty, and then looking at all the courses, and then looking at a particular course, right? So I'm kind of like drilling down into this. So let's add here in the courses authored. In the courses authored, let's add an additional column. Add a column. Again, it's going to be link, and it's going to be a link, and it's going to be called details, so I can navigate to the details page of that particular course. Details. The text for the link is going to be called details. Details. And it's going to be. I'm going to navigate to course. Do we already? I forget. Do we already have a page for this? Faculty 0, faculty 20 link. I guess not. We have courses that lists all the courses, right? So okay, we don't have that. All right, that's fine. We'll create one. We'll call it 030 course details ASPX. Oh, well, I'm going to put it in the wrong place. It's this one over here. And I'm going to pass as an argument the particular course that I want to see, the details of the particular course that I want to see. So I'm going to pass course ID equal, and then some argument that I'm going to grab from the ID field of the course. Okay, I'm going to save that. Let's refresh. Oops. There we go. Now we have a details page. I click on it. It's going to go to a page that doesn't exist yet, right? Course details. Right? Notice that it goes to 030. Course details doesn't exist. Let's create that page. Create that page. Right? And we'll call this H1 course details. With div. There you go. So in here, so let's refresh this. Let's refresh. Now the page exists, but it just has a title. That's all it does, right? So in here, we're going to drag here a detail view, right? Detail view. Well, that's what we did before, right? We just drag a detail view onto the page, and then we created our own SQL. Remember we did that, right? For the faculty, right? We did it from scratch, but that was very laborious. Okay. It's so much easier to just drag the table in there, and I get all the SQL that I need, right? To update, to delete, to edit. Right? Might as well just do that, right? So let me drag course. I know that by default it generates a grid view, but that's fine. I can always throw away that grid view and replace it with a details view, and then tell the details view to use that data source created by dragging the table. So if I refresh, there it is. I have the first course, right? That's the first course. So no matter what course I give it, notice that it's always giving me the same course. That we know why that's the case, right? Of course. The reason is that we need to configure the data source, the select statements, right, to use to read the course ID from the query string, right? We know that. We've done it a million times. Let's do it here again. Use the delete command, the insert command, select, and the select is somewhere here. There it is. And one more, the update. All right, we're going to change the select command to not read all of them, but get the one where the ID is equal to, and I'll pass it a parameter called ID. I'll configure it to parse it from the query string. The name of the field is ID. The type is integer 32. And the field in the query string is called course ID, I believe. Called course ID. All right, so if we refresh this, there we go. We got course 3. If we go back, right, we click on this one, we see course number 6. We click on this, we got course number 3. Click on this, we got course number 1. Right? It works. It works, right? What else? Let's see. A couple more things that we can do here. What we could do is we can style it, obviously, right? We could style it. We could open up to a template and use some bootstrap in here. We could turn on maybe inserting and editing, right? Well, no, actually not inserting. We can enable editing. We can enable deleting. Okay, we can save that. And we can refresh that, and we can come here and we can view that course, that particular course. We can edit it. Right? So we've turned on the ability of editing. We've turned on the ability of deletion. Right. So, for instance, notice that we have here all the courses 1, 3, and 6. Right. If I go here, right, and I delete, right, and then I go back and I refresh this, notice that course 6 is gone. See that? Because the course was there. It knew that it belonged to that particular faculty, but the record is gone, right? So when we retrieve all the courses that belong to a particular faculty, that particular record is no longer there. It's gone. Okay, make sense? All right. What else? Let's see. All right. I think we were able. I think I've reached all that we need to talk about one-to-many, right? Again, the idea is that we can navigate from a top level parent and navigate to the various children, right? And the way we represent that in a database is by using the one-to-many relationship, right? And the way it's implemented is to have in the one have a primary key, and in the many have a foreign key that references the primary key of the parent. Yes, everybody okay? All right. Okay. Right, and over here we say that faculty, right, and courses, they are in a parent-child relationship. So here's a parent, faculty is a parent, and the faculty is the courses are the children. Make sense? All right. All right. So let's look at this one. This is fairly more complex, right? Where we might have a many-to-many, right? Where one element might be related to many other elements, and that one element is related to many of these. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go back to here, and let's see what we could create. Okay. All right. So here's a course that was created by a particular faculty. Well, in that course, you might have many students that are enrolled in that course. Yes? Right? So a student, one student might be in many courses, but one course might have many students, and they're not necessarily the same, right? Right? You might have right, student one in courses 1, 2, and 3, but then course 3 obviously has student 1, right? Because there's a relationship with student 1. But in course 3, you might have not only student 1, but student 2, 3, and 4. Make sense? Right? So to represent that, let's create here a student table. Student table. We're going to say identity. I don't want to deal with primary keys. And students might also have same thing, right? Might have some of the same features as faculty, right? Actually, we might want to create some kind of inheritance relationship, right? Like a person. All persons have, first name, last name, and whatnot, right? And then students and faculty, they both inherit from a person, right? But then students and faculty might have additional attributes that are not in common, right? But let's not do that. Let's declare here first name. This is varchar. Last name. And they might have grad year. No, the year that they're going to graduate, and this might be an integer. Okay. Right, makes sense. All right, what else? Let's update. We have a student. There we go. Notice what we did not do. Even though even though courses and students are related to one another, notice that I did not add a foreign key from a student to a course. So the student is not aware of the course. And the course, notice that it doesn't have a foreign key to the student either, right? They're not aware of each other, right? Students don't know who they're enrolled in, and courses don't know what students are enrolled in that course. Okay. Instead, what we're going to do is that we're going to add a mapping table in between. We'll call it enrollment, right? That will say, what a student is enrolled in what course. Make sense? And say that student is enrolled in that course. So if I give you one particular student, I can tell you all the courses that student is enrolled in. Or if I give you a course, I'll be able to tell you a listing of all the students that are enrolled in that course, and vice versa. Make sense? All right, so let's do that. Let's create here another table. We'll call it the enrollment table. Enrollment. Okay, and this is not going to have a primary key. This is just going to have two keys. It's going to have two foreign keys. It's going to say, I'm going to have a reference to a student, and I'm going to have a reference to a course. And that one relationship is going to say, which students are related to what courses. Okay, so let's do that. We're going to say, I'm going to keep track of the student ID, right? And that's going to be an integer, and this is going to be a foreign key to the student table. Oh, sorry, references student ID. There we go. Okay, and I'm also going to have here the course ID. Also going to be an integer, and this is going to be a foreign key again. The references the course ID. Okay, make sense? Right. So let's update that. Enrollments. There we go. All right. So we got the enrollment. Let's see. Let's refresh this. Here's the enrollment. We have courses. How many courses do we got? I forget. Data. We have. Okay, we have 4. 1, 3, 4, 5. 4 courses. Okay, and the values are 1, 3, 4, and 5. So let's enroll a couple of students in course number 1. Right. So we'll need some students, right? So let's create a couple of students. So let's look at the data for that student, and we'll create a couple of students here. Okay. So here we'll create Edward Norton. He's going to graduate in 2018. Oops, no, not 20,000. 2018. We'll have Frank Herbert. He's going to graduate in 2016. He's a very smart man. Greg. Greg who? Daniels. He's going to graduate in 2017. Herbert what? Hoover. 2020. Okay. All right, we got 4 students. Okay, we got 4 students. And now let's go in the enrollment table. Let's go in the enrollment table, and let's enroll the first 2. We're going to enroll them in web development. Okay? And web development, I believe the primary key is 1. So let's go in the enrollment table, and we're going to say enrollment table. I want to see the data, and it's empty at first. And we're going to say that the first 2 students, 1 is enrolled in course 1, and student 2 is also enrolled in course 1. Okay? Right? All right. What about, let's see, what about course student? Actually, let's see. Student 1 is also enrolled in course number 2. How about this? Oh, no rows. Let's update it. Course. Oh, I don't have course ID 2. I have 3, right? And student 2 is also enrolled in course number 3, but that student is also enrolled in course number 4. Right? And then student number 3 is enrolled in 4. So there's an overlap, right? Some students are overlapped and they're together in some courses, but they're also and they're together with other students in some other course. Make sense? So they're always overlapping with some other student. 3 is 4, and then 3 is maybe 5. And what else? Okay, that's it. All right. So we have several students enrolled in various courses. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's create now an application that would allow me to view this. Okay. So one of the first things that we might like to do is we already had a course details, don't we? We already have a course details, right? And that course details we could augment it to display, for instance, the students that are enrolled in that particular course, right? Because now this course is even though it's a course that is taught by a particular faculty, yes, I can list more details. Not only is this course related to a faculty, it is also related to various students that are enrolled in this course, right? So in this page, I could display both information. Okay, so let's do that. Now let's look at the source. Let's see, what do we have here? We have the details, right? We're showing the course details, right? So this is the ID or the title, the price of the course. What else can we display here? We can display, and this is for a particular course, right? This is for a particular course. Let me add more things. How about students enrolled, right? Students enrolled in the course. So let's add here H2 students enrolled in this course. Right? Right. So let's see how we do that. Okay. So let's grab here. And so it's, what do I want to do? I want to display the students, right? So I'm going to drag the students in here, drag the student table in here. Okay. So if I go to the course details, and I refresh, notice that I'm going to display all the students. regardless of in what course they are enrolled in. Yes. And notice that I cannot filter on anything. There is no field here. There is no field here that I can use course to filter on. See, the students have no idea what course they're enrolled in, right? You see that? The record itself does not know what course it is related to. Where is that stored? That's stored in a separate table, isn't it? It's stored in the enrollment table, not in the student table. See that? So somehow I'm going to have to, merge or join, right, these two tables to extract the information for what students are enrolled in this course. Yes? Right. So let's look at the data source that is being used for this. Let's look at the data source. Okay, it's this one. Let's go to the select statement that is being used. The select statement is just retrieving all the records, right? All the records in the student table. And I don't want all the records, right? I only want the records, only those students that meet the criteria of a student enrolled in a particular course. Okay? Okay, there it is. So here's a select statement right now, right? And what's the only attribute that I have? There's the only parameter that's being passed to me, right? I know the course, yes, right? And so I have the course is number 3, right? So if I go and look at my tables, so I have the course number 3, right? It's course number 3. It's this one, right? There it is, right? So it's Java 101. Yep, Java 101. Now, what do I do with that 3? Well, I could go in maybe in the enrollment table. Let's see, what does the enrollment table tell me? The enrollment table tells me that if I have a course number 3, there it is, a course number 3, these two, right? Well, it would be these two students, 1 and 2. Yes, right? Okay, so I want to know what these IDs are because I want to filter my students with these IDs, right? But before doing that, I need to pass through the enrollment table. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's go and filter this using that knowledge. Okay, so let's remove that course details. Okay, right. So here in the course details, I want to modify my select statement and say, I don't want all of them. I want those students, right, where the ID of the student, right, the student ID, where the student ID is equal to, so what, because what do I have as information? The only information that I have is what? Is the course ID. That's all I have, right? Right, so I can map that. I can say, well, I know the course ID. Well, where is that course ID? Well, I can map it to what? The enrollment table. Enrollment table course ID is equal to the course ID that I'm passing you as an argument, course ID. Right, that filters narrow. That tells me what? That tells me this, right? If I have the course ID number 3, that means that I'm only going to look at these 2 records. See that? Right? Okay. So that narrows down the enrollment course ID, right? And now that I narrowed it down to those 2 records, yes, I want to look at what? I want to look at the ID of the student, right? I will look at the ID of the student, so it will be enroll. Oh, sorry, it's enrollment, right? Enrollment. Student ID, right? Which is those 2 IDs for those 2 records is equal to this student ID. Okay. This, what we're doing here is it's called joining. We are joining all these tables together to be able to retrieve and filter down data that is spread over several tables, right? The data is in 3 different places, right? Right? We have data in course, we have data in the enrollment, and we have data in the student, right? We have to join all these 3 things together to retrieve all the data. And since we're using the enrollment table, we need to add it in the from clause. There it is. And finally, we need to parameterize this course ID. We need to tell it where to grab that from, right? And we'll say grab it from the query string. And it's of type integer. And it's going to grab it from the field. I believe it's called course ID. There it is. Okay. All right, so let's try this again. Let's refresh. Okay, there it is. See that? It's only showing me that Edward and Frank are enrolled in this course, right? If I go back and I show all the faculty, right, and I go, we'll go to this course, right, and we'll go to web dev. It'll tell me just Edward Norton is in that course. If I look at Java 101, Edward Norton and Frank are in that course. Let's go back to Bob. And he's teaching ASP and Node.js. I'll see the details. Frank and Greg are in that course. And Node.js, just Greg is in that course. See that? All right, we have a list of these things. Well, we would like to go the other way around too, right? We're going from given a course, I want to see all the students that are enrolled in that course, right? But I would also like to be able to go the other way around, right? If I know the students, right, I would like to see what courses is that student enrolled in, right? I like to be able to navigate both ways, right? So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to add a details page for the student. Notice that we have details page for the faculty, we have student details page for the course, and now we're going to have details page for the student. Yes? And they're all going to be interconnected. Okay, from the faculty, I can navigate to the course. From the course, I can navigate to the student, and I should be able to go backwards too, right? From the students, I should be able to go back to the course, and from the course, I should be able to go back to the faculty. Yes? So I have, complete coverage and navigation across all pages. Make sense? Right? All right. So let's add the a details page for the student. Let's do that. So in the rendering, right, of the these are the students that are enrolled. I'm going to add additional column here. I'll call it. It's a linked. I'm going to link it to a student details page. And it's going to the header is going to be details. The text for the hyperlink is going to be details. And the URL, I'm going to give it to you. I want to go to 040 student details.aspx. Okay, I'm going to pass the student ID for which I want the details, and I'm going to use the student ID to generate that field. And say okay. I'm going to save. Now that I'm here, right, and I refresh, notice that now I have a details link. See that? Which should allow me to navigate to details of that particular student. The page doesn't exist yet. Let's create that page. Right. Notice that we've been doing this. Right. There's a pattern here. You see the pattern, right? Parent to child, right? And that parent to child, right? You're navigating. You're drilling down. Right. Anyway, so let's create that page. Let's say add web form, student details. So I'm going to say here, this is page 1, student details. Let's refresh. Okay, we have student details. We have the page there. It's blank. What are we going to do here? First, we'll drop a we'll drop a grid view to display that that student. So we want to display students. I'm going to just drag this in there, and then I'm going to replace this grid view. I'm going to replace it with a details view using that data source we just created 2 seconds ago. There it is. right? And maybe I'll turn on the ability that you can edit and you can delete. You can delete the student. What else? Actually, no, you cannot delete the student. You cannot delete the student. If we allow you to delete the student, we would be violating referential integrity, right? Because this student is enrolled in a course. Yes? My records show that this student that exists is enrolled in that course. Right? If we allow you to delete the student, the enrollment table is going to complain and say, wait a minute, you can't delete that record because I have a reference to that record. Okay? If I have a reference to that record and you remove that record, what happens to me? Right? Well, there's several ways to solve that. Typically, what you might want to do is, you would like to cascade those changes, right, and remove that enrollment record, right? But we're not going to get into cascade deletes. This is not a database course, but that's what you would typically do, right? You would propagate those changes across the rest of the records. So we're just going to allow you to edit the record, but not delete the record. Okay, so let's see. Right now it's just showing Edward Norton, the first student, right? Instead, what we want to use, we're going to filter using student ID. So let's do that. All right, that's easy. We've done that several times already. All right, let's. We're going to edit the select. Select is way on the right hand side, so I'm just going to go right there. Here's the select, and I'm going to just update this over here. I'm going to say I only want where the ID field is equal to the student ID. Oops, student ID. And I'm just going to configure that field so that it will grab it from the query string. Select, and this is going to be a query string parameter. The name is faculty ID. The type is integer 32, and the query string field is faculty ID. Right? Oops, that didn't work. Student ID equal 3. Oh, student ID. Sorry. Student ID and student ID. Sorry. There we go. Is that better? There we go. All right. So if we go back, right, and so Greg Daniels, that's that one. So there it is. We're looking at the details. But if we go back and we go to another course, there's 2 courses here, and if you click on this one, I see Frank, right? And I can edit. I can edit and everything. I can cancel. Okay. All right. So we got that. What we want to be able to show is that not only can I go from a course and show me all the students in that course. If I have the student details, I can see all the courses that particular student is enrolled in. Right. It's kind of like the backwards, right? The inverse relationship. Right. Okay. So let's do that. Let's add to student details. Let's see, if we go back, what do we call this? So, students enrolled in this course. So we're going to do backwards. Courses this student is enrolled in, right? So let's do that. Let's say this is H2 courses enrolled in, and we're going to put in here. Right, we're going to drag in here those courses. I'm going to just drag courses in here. I will drop it. Right, and there we go. Okay, courses. Now I don't want all the courses, right? If I refresh this, if I go to Frank, right? Notice that I can see all the courses, but I don't want to see all the courses. I only want to see the courses that this student is enrolled in, right? So again, we're going to have to join this, right? Starting from the student ID, I'm going to navigate to my enrollment table, all right? And the enrollment table is going to tell me the course IDs, right? And I'm going to use those course IDs to filter the records for the courses that I want to display. Okay, so let's do that. Let's look at the data source, and we'll look at the select statement that is being used to retrieve the data. It's way on the right hand side. Let's grab it somewhere here. Insert, select. Here's a select. Okay, we're going to say I don't want all of them. I want to use the enrollment table, right? And I want to filter this and say that the enrollment dot I have the student ID is going to be equal to the parameter that is being passed as an argument, student ID, and the enrollment dot course ID, right, is going to be equal to this course dot ID, this table, the course table, right? That's this course table. Yep. Right, and we need to configure that select command. And we're going to say select parameters, and this is a query string parameter. The name is, I believe I called it course ID. Is it course ID? No, student ID. Student ID. The type is integer 32, and the query parameter is also called student ID. Right. So if we refresh, notice that now it tells me that this student, right, Frank Herbert, is enrolled only in these courses, right? That makes sense, right? If we navigate back, and we go to Greg, it says that Greg is enrolled in ASP.NET and Node.js, whereas Frank is enrolled in Java and ASP.NET, right? That's showing that overlapping between the two, right? We have two students enrolled in two courses, right? And they overlap one courses, adjacent courses. Okay, that makes sense, right? Everybody good? All right. Okay, so a couple things here. Notice that the look and feel is somewhat ugly, right? And for your projects, you should use Bootstrap, as I have been using Bootstrap all along throughout the course. But using Bootstrap in ASP.NET it's pretty easy. Let me show you how to do that. Okay. So for instance, let's style this one over here. Notice that this has edit, has buttons at the bottom, right? We would like to apply some of the styling, right? So let's do that. So let's see. We have student details. First of all, we'll need to grab Bootstrap. So let's grab Bootstrap. Not Bootstrap, sorry. And we're going to getting started. And let's copy this link over here. And I'm just going to paste it here in the head. And if we refresh this, oops. Notice that it's already looking a little prettier, right? The font is prettier. We can add some of the classes that we have become accustomed to, that we all love. We're going to say container. That's going to add some padding on the sides. Let's configure this, right? Maybe let's configure to use the button, right? The Bootstrap button. And when we edit, right, notice that over here we have input fields, right, to edit this, right? So we should use form input fields for that. Okay. So let's see. We know that this details page is rendering this as a table. We'll look at the source. Notice that it's using tables. There it is, tables, to render those detail views. See that? We can very easily style the class. Notice that there is no class attribute in the details view. It's a reserved word. Instead, there is CSS class. CSS class allows us to configure the class is going to be used in the end element, HTML element that is being used to render this. Right. So I'm going to say use table and table type maybe. Okay. Refresh this. There it is. So it's looking a little better, right? We would like to style this further. For instance, I like to be able to use form controls for these and update whatnot. So let's do that. So what we could do here is that we can go into design view, right, and tell it to if we edit the fields, for each one of them, we could say to convert the field into what is called a template field, a field that will show me, because currently, right, if I look at this and I go into the source, the only thing that I have is a bound field. It doesn't tell me how could I configure. It doesn't tell me what HTML it's using underneath. Notice that even though it's using an input field, see, using a text box, it doesn't give me the text box here for me to style it. See that? So it's using some template underneath behind the scenes that it's not giving me access to. So we can configure that by saying we can edit the field, and you can select a particular field and says convert it into a template field. Okay, I want to show you what happens, right? If I click on that and say okay, I save. If I refresh, looks like nothing happened, right? If I click on edit, we have the same behavior. It looks exactly the same, right? But if I go into source code, if I go into the source, I'll notice now that the first name field has now been replaced from a bound field. It has been replaced into a template field. Okay, that one line has been now replaced by these multiple lines. Okay, and what it does is that it says, okay, well, I use various templates, right? When I'm editing, I use this template. When I'm inserting, I use this template. And when I'm in read-only mode, I use this template. And you can style each one individually, okay? Right? So for instance, here I'm editing, right? I'm editing. So I can style the edit template, this one over here. Notice that it's using a text box, yes? And I can configure the style. I can configure the CSS style and say that I want to use form control. Right? So if I refresh this, notice that it converts into a form control. Okay? I can do the same thing with the other ones. So let's convert all of them. Okay, let's convert edit fields, and let's convert last name. Can I convert several? No, I can't. Okay, let's convert that one, and let's now convert that one. There we go. Okay. Right. So save. I can configure. I can go to source, and now I can copy that class. I can copy that class, and I'll see that for the last name now we have also the template. So I can paste it here. For the graduation year, same thing. I have I can put the class. Refresh. Now they are all input fields. Oops. They're somewhat small. So what we could do, is, I believe this has a width. Yeah, it has a width. If I change the width of any one of them, it'll expand all the other ones. So if I say this, 400 pixels, and refresh, there it is. So it expanded, so I have enough space to type this. Especially if I have a multi-line, maybe I have like a description or have something like that, right? The text box, right? I can configure to use a text area instead, right? By using multi-line. How about the bottom one? These I like for these to be buttons instead. That one is being rendered by this one single component, the command field. It's showing the, see, it's configured to show the edit button, right? It's just showing this edit button over here, and then that renders the update and the cancel buttons depending on what mode it's in, right? So anyway, and that's all being done with that one single component. So what we could do is convert that also into a template. and say edit field, and we can select that. That's this last one. I would convert it into a template field. I can say okay. Now, if I see the source code, right? If I see the source code, I'll see that. Where is it? Student details. So that last name, graduation year. There it is. So these are the links. See, these are the two links that are being used for when it's in edit mode, and this is in the read-only mode. See that? So in the read-only mode, you have a button that says edit. Right there it is. And in the edit mode, you have two buttons that say update and cancel. Right? Okay. And we can style each one of these. So for instance, we could say, CSS equals button default. Right, and we can style each one of these. So these become actual buttons, right? Or we can give it colors, right? So this one could be, button primary. So it's blue. And when I click on edit, it becomes update and cancel, right? One more thing that we might want to do is to center these. Maybe we want it to be in the middle. So perhaps we can here you can put all the HTML that you want, and it's going to use that HTML to render that one row. Okay, whatever you put in here, that's what's going to render. So for instance, we can put a div here and say that div, I want to add a class that is text centered. Okay. We can do the same thing with this one over here. So there it is. So update and cancel, and then I can cancel and edit is in the center. Yes? So yes, you can style this to look much more professional. Same thing down below. You do something similar, right? You would apply table stripe to these, right? So so it's pretty easy to apply the same kind of styling that we've been using so far in the course, to apply it also to .NET, ASP.NET components. All right, let's leave it here.